It is now 8:30. And good Monday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3, streaming live online at newstalk1330.com. I'm your host this morning, Colin Worthington. Sunny skies expected for today and much of this week. Stick around. The local weather forecast will come up at the top of the hour. Right now, I'll introduce you to my guest as we return to discussions about Election Day. Of course, it's been delayed for a second time. Election Day is now June the 9th. That election will include the March 24th presidential preference primary and the May 19th general primary. And in Haralson County, it will also include the City of Waco special election. Advanced voting in Haralson County will be at the Haralson County Courthouse, 4485 Georgia Highway 120 in Buchanan. That'll start Monday, the 18th of May, and will continue through, let's see, the first week, it's Monday through Friday. The second week, it'll be Tuesday through Friday because Memorial Day is the 25th. Then the second week will also include Saturday voting. That'll be on May the 30th. And, of course, Monday the 1st of June through the 5th of June. And then Election Day, again, is June the 9th. Voter registration deadline is May the 11th. So if you haven't registered to vote in this election yet, you still do have some time to do that. Already 4,000 of Haralson County's approximately 18,000 active voters had requested absentee ballots. And if you're a resident and you've done that, you could start to receive those in the mail as soon as this week. Now, one race that'll be on the ballots in Haralson County is the race for Clerk of Superior Court. Becky Abbott, I believe, has had that seat since 2009. She did not qualify for this year's race. Two people did, though, Amy Muse of Bremen and Kelly Crawford. Bremen as well, and Kelly is our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. Kelly, good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you again for calling in for us this morning, accommodating our social distancing practices here. And before we get into who you are and talk about that role of Clerk of Superior Court, what have you been doing to social distance? How are you practicing keeping everybody safe that you're used to associating with?
Well, my family and I have been staying at home for the most part. We go to the grocery store and try to get what we need quickly and stay away from folks. But we have really stayed at home and just tried to keep to ourselves. And my mom lives with me, and she's older, so we certainly don't want to bring anything home to her. So we have spent a lot of family time here at home.
I know the hair salons and things kind of opened up a little bit on Friday. Have you had to give yourself a haircut at home yet?
Actually, I don't know how this happened. It was just luck, I guess. But I had just gotten my hair cut before they decided to close everything down. So I've actually been okay. I've had to trim my bangs a little bit, but I've actually been okay. I'm going to need something soon, but I was able to ride that one out in a good way.
Good deal. I had just seen numerous videos over the weekend that were just funny, so that's been in my brain all weekend. All right, let's talk important stuff here. Yeah, I saw a kid, like an 8-year-old kid, might have been in England, and he actually had like the friar haircut. I don't know if he encouraged his parents to do it or he did it himself, but that's kind of a scary image that I've kept all weekend, this 8-year-old kid like that.
Very much so.
Yeah. Again, Kelly Crawford, our guest this morning, one of two candidates running for Clerk of Superior Court in Haralson County. Start off with explain the duties. What are the duties for the Clerk of Court? Superior Court. And is there a different clerk of courts in Haralson County or in any other county, or it's all just Superior Court because it's on the county level?
There's just Superior Court. There's only one clerk in the county for a court, and that's Superior Court. And I'm glad you asked that. That's a very, very good question. The clerk has a lot of responsibility and a lot of duties, and there's a really long list, and if you don't mind, I can go over that
Absolutely.
list to people because voters probably don't have any idea what all the responsibilities of the clerk are. But the clerk is over a lot of different areas, and I think it's important to explain to the voters what all the clerk is in charge of so that they can make an intelligent decision on who to vote for. Excuse me. Allergies have really gotten me this year. They usually do, but it's been pretty bad this year as well. So I'll start with the criminal division. The clerk is over the criminal division. All felony cases go through the clerk of Superior Court office, and most misdemeanors in Haralson County go through the criminal division in Haralson County. I know magistrate does some misdemeanors, probate court does some misdemeanors, but the bulk of the misdemeanor cases are done through the Superior Court in Haralson County. The clerk is over the civil division. There's kind of two sections of the civil division. There's the regular civil, which is torts. That's typically your personal injury type cases, such as auto litigation, medical malpractice, your slip and fall type cases. And then there's also cases like contract account cases, garnishments, those type of cases. And then there's also on the civil division, there's a domestic side. With domestic cases, you're talking divorces, legitimation, child support, visitation, custody, child custody, name changes, those type cases, all those domestic cases. And then also the clerk of Superior Court handles adoptions. I don't know how much people know about adoptions, but adoptions are private. They are completely private. Like whenever I prepare the calendar every week, if we had an adoption, I do not send the adoption calendar out to everyone because they are completely private. And I guess it would not be a bad idea to mention if there's anyone out there that has an adoption case in a Superior Court right now. I don't know if any listeners might have an adoption case in Superior Court right now or not, but just a little note. If you do, you might want to be sure to get plenty of certified copies of your final order because once that case is completed and you have a final adoption order and it's closed, it is very hard to get that adoption case opened back up so that you can get copies later on in life. You have to petition the court or the state, and it's a vigorous process and it's a timely process. So, if you do have any cases, adoption cases in the court right now, you may want to go ahead and get plenty of those final certified orders. Another thing that we handle in Superior Court are real estate filings. That is the recording and indexing and cross-referencing of deeds, plats, liens, UCCs. The Haralson County Superior Court is over juvenile court, so the clerk there is over the juvenile court in Haralson County. The clerk, I think this is in all counties, the clerk handles jury management, so all the juror summons and all the jurors coming in, that's all managed through the clerk's office. The clerk's office handles notary public, applications, certificates, renewals, all that kind of thing. So notary publics are under the clerk of Superior Court. Court calendars are handled through the clerk, and that's all the calendars. We have motion court every week, so every week a motion court calendar is released and prepared through the clerk's office, but we also do all of the trial calendars, all of the pretrial calendars, so all of the calendars are handled through the clerk of Superior Court. And then the clerk also does some judge support and court support, and what I mean by that is anything that the judges might need, the clerk helps with that. And then also when we have court hearings, the clerk is in the courtroom with all hearings and trials. And the clerk's responsibilities in the court is to, of course, help the judge in any way possible. We have all the files down in the courtroom. The clerk has to make sure every file is there, whether it's a regular motion court day or if it's pre-trials, trials. We have criminal call calendars criminal recall calendars. Sometimes, like this past year, we had such a big calendar that we had 4 boxes of files in the courtroom at one time. That was probably the most that we've had since I've been there, and I've been there over 5 years.
And that is a good point for me it's a good time for me to point something out here. You are the deputy clerk for the Superior Court office at this point, right?
That is correct. And I was going to say another thing we do in the courtroom is we take notes. We keep a list of the witnesses. We keep up with the exhibits, all the evidence that's admitted into the court. We are responsible for keeping up with all of that. We swear witnesses in. So the clerk has a lot of responsibilities, and I can go on. The clerk in Haralson County is over the Board of Equalization, appeals, and that's a process within itself. So, the clerk has a lot of responsibilities, and I could go on, but that's just kind of touching on some of the things that the clerk is responsible for.
Well, absolutely, and it's not short on responsibilities what you just explained to us there either. Kelly Crawford, she is one of 2 candidates for Clerk of Superior Court for Haralson County. Before we do take our first break, Kelly, talk about your background. I'd mentioned you are the deputy clerk in Haralson County. What else is on your resume that prepares you for this job?
Well, I have almost 20 years of paralegal and legal assistant experience. So there, I know both sides of this of this job. I worked in the law offices for almost 20 years, and that gave me the entire perspective, pretty much, of what lawyers do. And then I've been, like I said, at the clerk's office over 5 years, going on 6 years. And so now I've been able to learn the clerk side and all of these things that I mentioned. I've been able to learn all of these things that the clerk does. And I can tell you now, whenever I worked at the law offices, I thought I had an idea of what the clerk does, but I really was clueless. I had no idea until I started working at the clerk's office exactly what all the clerk is responsible for. But what prepares me for this job is pretty much, I would say, my experience in the clerk's office, but of course my nearly 20 years being a paralegal is a plus.
Are there certificates or training that clerk of courts must have or should have? Is anything required as far as a certificate, being able to qualify to run in this race?
Actually, the only qualification is just, I believe, a high school diploma, and then you have to qualify, and other than that, you have to go through training. The clerk has to go through a week's worth of training every year. They have to have a certain amount of hours of continuing education a year. But as far as the specific qualifications for the clerk, and I really don't know why there's not more qualifications for this job, because it is such an awesome responsibility. But those are the qualifications.
Kelly Crawford is our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. She's one of 2 candidates for the Clerk of Superior Court in Haralson County. 2 names will be on the ballot, Kelly Crawford and Amy Muse. I'm going to take our first break here, Kelly, and let me tell our voters or our listeners one more time. Of course, the March 24th presidential preference primary and the May 19th general primary, along with the City of Waco special election in Haralson County, been postponed till June the 9th. Advanced voting will begin at the Haralson County Courthouse on Monday, the 18th day of May. Registration for this upcoming election is May the 11th. And if you have any questions, you can contact the Haralson County Board of Elections office at 770-646-2010. We'll take our first break right now. Come back and continue our conversation with Kelly Crawford on the Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3.
As we journey through this global pandemic together, Oak Mountain Academy is lifting everyone in prayer and holding the community in our hearts. We continue to pray for all of the families directly impacted and the first responders and medical personnel on the front lines. There are so many individuals working around the clock to keep us safe and healthy. I'm Patrick Uran, headmaster, asking you to join all of us on the mountain in prayer and gratitude for everyone in our community. For more information about the Academy, visit us at oakmountain.us.
We know COVID-19 has made everything harder, including getting medical care. At Tanner, we've expanded your options to make sure you can get the medical care you trust. Tanner's Care Your Way gives you telemedicine visits for general and behavioral health, walk-in care at our urgent care clinics, and appointments at our emergency departments. Let's get better together with Tanner's Care Your Way. Visit tanner.org/careyourway to learn more. That's tanner.org/careyourway.
8:45. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3, streaming live online at newstalk1330.com. And as this program does end, we'll get it up on our website, newstalk1330.com. The entire podcast will be there available to listen. And later on this morning, and at the latest, early this afternoon, we'll have the entire program posted up on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. Our guest this morning is Kelly Crawford, one of two candidates running for Clerk of Superior Court in Haralson County. I'm assuming there are some different rules for some places, for different counties. I'm sure there's some standard rules. It's a constitutional office, so there's probably standard rules for the majority of the county. Are there any different rules that maybe the Haralson County Board of Commissioners have approved for the clerk office that might be different from other counties as far as responsibilities?
No, sir. The clerk is one of 4 constitutional officers of Georgia, and the clerk pretty much runs the office. I know payroll and bills and such as that go through the county, and there are county, regulations that the clerk abides by. But as far as specific rules, to my knowledge, the clerk pretty much runs his or her office as she sees fit, unless she's turned it over to the county. So since the clerk is a constitutional officer, he or she pretty much runs the office as he or she sees fit.
So does the clerk manage like revenue collections?
Well, anything that goes through the Superior Court is what the court manages.
Okay.
So any of the filing fees, I know in real estate we collect transfer tax and intangible taxes. I know the probation offices have to send us probation money so that it can be dispersed out to the appropriate parties, county, state parties, that those are payable to, but anything that goes through the Superior Court is what we're responsible for paying out and collecting.
Kelly Crawford, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. Just as any office, county office, city office, statewide office, they're going to have to decide how to operate their office dealing with COVID-19 and coronavirus concerns in the future. So I imagine the clerk of courts are looking towards that as well once they reopen the courts, how they'll approach that, just to make sure that everybody in the court is safe, whether it's the employees or potential jurors. What kind of ideas would you have? You wouldn't take over this role until 2021. Hopefully there'll be some things in place by then, but what kind of ideas would you have to operate the courts, under this, this concern?
Well, our clerk now has done an excellent job of handling the COVID-19 situation. We have actually done, like, for instance, we have the real estate people that have to come in and do title checks. So we have to be able to let folks in to do the essential things that need to be done. So we've been doing it by appointment only. I think that's an excellent idea, especially if we were to be in a judicial emergency like we're in now. Like the courthouse has been pretty much closed to the public, and anyone that's needed to come in to do any essential business in the Superior Court has had to make an appointment, and we only take 2 people at a time. We've had them wear masks and gloves. And then of course, everybody's trying to do our social distancing. So that's something, especially if we were in a judicial emergency, that I would definitely keep is I think the 6 feet apart has been a very good idea. The mask and gloves is pretty much for the protection of the person coming in, just to make sure they don't pick anything up from our office. But I also think that if we, if we had to continue the social distancing for a prolonged period of time, I would have to look at trying to get some kind of shielding, because business does need to go on, and we don't have any kind of barrier between us and the public. So, I would have to look at getting some kind of shielding for our counter if it came to that. But the social distancing and maybe continuing having people come in by appointment only, I think that's worked really well. So that would be something I'll continue.
Kelly Crawford, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. Got about 7 minutes left in the show after I take this final break. So we'll come back and wrap up our conversation with Kelly Crawford, one of two candidates for Clerk of Superior Court in Haralson County. Time right now is 8:52. Community Voice, brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy.
We know COVID-19 has made everything harder, including getting medical care. At Tanner, we've expanded your options to make sure you can get the medical care you trust. Tanner's Care Your Way gives you telemedicine visits for general and behavioral health, walk-in care at our urgent care clinics, and appointments at our emergency departments. Let's get better together with Tanner's Care Your Way. Visit tanner.org/careyourway to learn more. That's tanner.org/careyourway.
As we journey through this global pandemic together, Oak Mountain Academy is lifting everyone in prayer and holding the community in our hearts. We continue to pray for all of the families directly impacted and the first responders and medical personnel on the front lines. There are so many individuals working around the clock to keep us safe and healthy. I'm Patrick Uran, headmaster, asking you to join all of us on the mountain in prayer and gratitude for everyone in our community. For more information about the Academy, visit us at oakmountain.us.
Eight 8:53, Community Voice, brought to you by Tanner Health System, Oak Mountain Academy, here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3, and streaming live online at newstalk1330.com. Our guest this morning, Kelly Crawford, one of two candidates who will be on the ballot in Haralson County for Clerk of Superior Court. The other name on there, Amy Muse, out of Bremen. Again, returning back to Kelly, one of the responsibilities of being a clerk of court is handling a lot of confidential information and keeping it secure. What's in place right now at Haralson County Courts that does protect information from spilling out or being easily accessible by people you don't want to access it, although there probably is some information out there that could be more accessible for people?
Well, actually, civil and criminal records are public record. Mm-hmm. So we don't have to keep much secure there. There are some criminal records that we have to keep secure that have very personal information, and those are pretty much kept behind a lock and key. Also, adoptions are kept behind closed doors where no one can get to them because those are also secure where they can't be, the public can't have any kind of knowledge of those. Also, juvenile court. Everything that happens in juvenile court is not public record, so all of that is kept away from the public behind a closed door where nobody even knows where it is. So those are the things in place right now under the current clerk to keep secured documents away from the public.
As far as the civil documents, the ones that are public, is there a way to access those online? Is that a good idea for Haralson County? If not,
well, there is. Anyone can access any of the criminal. I'm sorry, not criminal. Not at this point. All of the civil cases can be accessed through Peach Court, which is peachcourt.com, and then you would look up Haralson County, and there may be a fee to be able to access those documents. I know they have a monthly fee, and then also if you're looking for something specific, you can pay a one-time fee, and you can access any of the civil cases that we have in Haralson County. You can also come into the office and get on a computer and look up any of the criminal cases that we have. So those are available through a portal that we have there at the Haralson County Clerk courthouse we have several computers set aside for people to be able to look up records that way.
Kelly Crawford, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, as we wrap up our show with her. As far as campaigning, I'm sure it's been kind of a letdown for you as far as what you may have wanted to do. How are you reaching out to people and other than doing the radio interview, how are you explaining to people all the responsibilities of your job and encouraging their vote? How are you getting out to them?
Well, I've been doing a lot of social media, and I've been doing phone calls. I talk to people. Anytime I talk to someone, I ask them if there's anyone that they know that might be a potential person that I can speak with to let them know about my experience, and so that I can reach out to them. It's been very challenging since we can't go door to door and can't get out among people and mingle and let people know about us, the candidates. And we can't have meet and greets, that sort of thing. So it's been pretty challenging. But I've been doing what I can through phone calls and social media. And
what are your what's the social media access? If people want to maybe follow you on Facebook or Twitter, do you have a website?
I do. Facebook, I have a website. It is K Crawford, and that's CRAWFORD, the number 4, CSCHCGA.org. And then you can also access me on Facebook. I have a personal page, Kelly Johnston Crawford, and then I have a clerk page, and that's Kelly Crawford for Clerk Superior Court.
If you were magically giving a one whole minute to where you wouldn't have to worry about the coronavirus and you could talk to people, what would you tell them when they're considering when they go out to vote?
Well, I would want them to know that if they choose me, I'm the most experienced candidate on the ballot. I've been working in the clerk's office for over 5 years. I've also, as I said, worked in law offices for almost 20 years. And just because I worked in the law office does not mean that I am. If you work in a law office and you work in the clerk's office, just because you've worked in the law office does not qualify you for the challenges of being the clerk. So I've been working with the current clerk. I've been watching her, learning, and working with her day to day, day in and day out. So by voting for me, I can assure the voters that they will have the easiest, and I will be the easiest and smoothest transition from one clerk to the next. I will need very little training because I already know so much about how the clerk's office runs, and I believe in customer service. So I will be a working clerk. When folks come in, they will get top-notch, first-rate customer service. So I believe I'm the most qualified for the job.
Kelly Crawford, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. And thank you, Kelly, for talking with us this morning and introducing yourself.
Thank you so much, Colin. I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely.
I hope everyone has a great day.
Yes, stay safe out there and have a great day yourself. And thank you again
so much. Thank you for your time.
Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System, Oak Mountain Academy here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. Remember, Election Day is June the 9th, and early voting will start on May the 18th.